prairie stretched far and wide beneath a sky that had forgotten warmth. The sun was gone, leaving behind streaks of copper and violet fading into the coming night. The ranch house stood alone against the vast emptiness, its wooden walls creaking softly in the restless wind. From inside, a dim glow spilled through the window, the flicker of an oil lamp fighting back the dark. Clara stood by that window, arms wrapped tightly around herself, her shawl drawn up like armor against something deeper than cold. Her breath fogged the glass as she stared out at the dying light. She looked fragile, but not in the way of weakness. It was the exhaustion of someone who had carried too much for too long. Behind her, Ethan leaned against the doorframe, silent as he had been for most of his life. The brim of his hat was low, shadowing his eyes, but not enough to hide the weight in them. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows, the skin of his forearms tanned and scarred from work, his hands rough and strong, hands that could fix fences and calm wild horses, but couldn't mend a breaking heart. The floorboards groaned as he shifted his weight. "You don't have to stand there alone," he said, his voice rough from disuse. Clara didn't turn around. "I don't know how not to anymore," she whispered. The wind outside howled faintly, a lonely sound that filled the silence between them. He stepped forward, slow, careful. "You've been quiet these last few days," he said. "Quieter than usual. I ran out of words," she murmured. "Words don't fix things, Ethan. They just make the silence worse when nothing changes." Ethan's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but deep down, he knew she wasn't. He'd spent half his life in silence, trying to outwork pain he couldn't name. Clara finally turned, her eyes shimmering in the lamplight. "I thought coming here would help. I thought maybe if I kept moving, if I stayed busy enough, I could forget." "Forget what?" His voice softened, her throat worked before she answered. "That I don't belong anywhere anymore." Ethan's heart twisted. He took a slow step toward her, stopping only a few feet away. The air between them felt heavy, charged, like the seconds before a storm breaks. "You belong here," he said quietly. She shook her head, tears threatening to spill. "You don't mean that?" "I wouldn't say it if I didn't." She looked at him then. Really looked. The lamplight carved the lines in his face, each one earned through years of loss and work and long silence. His eyes were steady, but there was something behind them, something that trembled even if his body didn't. "Right here," she breathed, her voice barely holding together. "Right now. I just need this to stop hurting." Her words seemed to freeze time itself. The only sound was the wind pressing against the window and the soft creak of the house settling. Ethan felt every beat of his heart, slow and loud in the quiet. He took another step, close enough now to see the tear slip down her cheek. Without thinking, he reached out, his thumb brushing it away. His touch was hesitant, almost reverent, as though afraid she might break under it. "You've been strong long enough," he said. Her lips quivered. "I don't want to be strong anymore. I just want to stop pretending I am." He let out a breath, rough and uneven. "Then don't. Not with me." She looked up at him, her eyes searching. "You really think it's that easy?" "No," he said after a moment. "But maybe it starts here." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, deep and low. Rain began to tap gently on the roof, a rhythm that filled the space where words failed. Clara stood motionless for a moment, then reached for his hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but when he closed his around hers, something shifted. Not the pain, not yet, but the loneliness that wrapped around it. "Don't leave me tonight," she whispered. Ethan nodded once, unable to speak. His hand trembled against hers, and for the first time, he didn't try to hide it. They stood there in the soft, flickering light, two weary souls sharing one fragile moment of peace while the storm broke outside. The wind howled, the rain thickened, and the world beyond that small room faded into nothing but the sound of their breathing. When the lamp burned lower, the thunder drifted away, leaving behind only silence. They didn't move for a long time. The past couldn't be undone, but in that quiet hour, something unspoken began to heal. By morning, the storm had passed. The world outside glistened. Wet soil, fresh air, puddles that reflected the soft gray sky. The ranch seemed smaller in the light, humbler, but warmer somehow. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, the smell of coffee filling the air. His hair was damp from stepping out to check the barn, his shirt sleeves still rolled up. the edges of fatigue clinging to him like an old habit. He stared into his mug, lost in thought until the soft creak of a floorboard pulled him back. Clara appeared in the doorway, barefoot, her hair still damp, wearing one of his flannel shirts that hung loose around her. The sight made him forget for a heartbeat to breathe. "You're up early," he said. She nodded, her smile faint but real. "Couldn't sleep much. Coffee's hot," he offered. She crossed the room, poured herself a cup, and sat opposite him. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It was warm, gentle. The rain outside had slowed to a mist. They listened to it for a while before she finally spoke. "Last night," she began, eyes on her coffee. "I didn't mean to make things complicated." Ethan shook his head. "You didn't." She glanced up. "You could have walked away." He met her gaze steady. "I almost did. But something in me wouldn't let me." Her lips parted slightly. "Why?" He took a breath. "Because I've been running from things my whole life. From what hurts, from what I want. But when you said those words, right here, right now, I realized maybe I was the one who needed to stop running." Her eyes softened. "And what now?" He leaned forward, resting his hands on the table, his voice low. "Now we just sit. Drink coffee. Let the rain finish washing everything clean." Clara smiled faintly, a quiet laugh escaping her. "That sounds simple enough." "It's a start," he said. They fell into silence again, watching the light change as the clouds slowly broke apart. A golden beam of sunlight slipped through the window, landing across the table, warming their joined hands. Clara reached out, fingers trembling only a little, and laid her hand on his. He turned it over, their palms meeting, their fingers locking like it had always been meant. "Right here," she whispered again. "Right now," he finished. Outside, the prairie shimmered with life, puddles reflecting the open sky, the grass glistening like it had been reborn. Inside the small kitchen, the sound of their quiet breathing mixed with the drip of rain from the eaves. Clara looked at him, her voice soft. "Do you think people like us can really start over?" Ethan smiled, small but true. "Out here, everything grows back after the storm. Sometimes slower, sometimes different, but it grows. Maybe we can too." Her eyes lingered on him for a long moment, then she nodded. "Then let's try." He reached across, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, his thumb grazing her cheek just as it had the night before. "One day at a time," he said. She smiled, that fragile, hopeful smile that felt like sunrise after a long winter. The rain had stopped completely now, leaving behind the faint smell of wet earth and new beginnings. Ethan rose to his feet, stepped to the window, and looked out across the soaked fields. "Looks like it'll be a good day for mending fences," he said quietly. Clara joined him, standing close enough that their shoulders touched. Together they looked out over the land, endless, open, alive again. The world outside gleamed under the first clean light of morning, and inside, in the quiet heart of that lonely ranch, two people who had carried too much for too long stood side by side, not fixed but no longer broken. They said nothing more. They didn't need to. The silence that stretched between them was full of peace, of the promise of another sunrise, and of the fragile, trembling hope that sometimes love doesn't come with thunder or lightning. Sometimes it comes quietly, right here, right now.